Hey friends, welcome back to the whiteboard. It's Blaine from Applied Leadership Partners, and today we want to share with you a really important concept that we call lines of effort. So if you're anything like me, or like most people I know and work with, it feels like you've got a lot on your plate. Maybe too many big heavy rocks in your rucksack right now. And if you're like me and most of the people that I hang out with, you've already worked pretty hard to try to reduce the number of non-essential things in your life. You've probably cut out the frivolous stuff. You're likely not wasting your time on things that don't matter. It's entirely possible that you are focused all the time or almost all the time on the important stuff, on the things that really matter. And yet, it still may feel like you've just got too much to do. You're overwhelmed by the number of essential tasks in a given day or a given week or in your life in general. I completely understand that. I am right there with you. But what do we do about this? How can we manage that? Well, this concept of lines of effort is one that has really helped me throughout my entire career in the military, in the corporate sector, and now in the work that I'm doing at Applied Leadership Partners. And I think it'll help you too. So I'll share with you a little story of how I became familiar with this, and maybe that'll help it stick for you. Back in 2009, I was in Kandahar, Afghanistan, and my team and I were staying in some plywood huts there by the airfield, and we were getting ready to get on some helicopters and fly up to our fire base up in Uruzgan province in the next few days. And one evening, sitting there on my cot, across from my team sergeant, we started talking about all the things that we were gonna have to be able to do in order to be successful. And we thought, man, it's a bit of a mess up there right now, and there is a lot to do. And how are 12 guys gonna figure out a way to do all this? Because unlike a lot of the conventional military units, the Special Forces mission was diverse and multifaceted, to say the least. It's a classic, what we would call an economy of force mission. How do you get relatively few people to do a lot of stuff? And we thought about it, we realized we had to go up there and conduct direct action operations against enemy targets. We had to conduct reconnaissance and surveillance operations. We were gonna have to conduct intelligence gathering operations, information operations, civil military operations, you name it, the list was very long. And we started thinking about how we were gonna possibly be able to do all these things. We first just kind of took out the notebook and said, let's line out all of the categories, all of the buckets, or all of what we would call in the military lines of effort that we've got to operate against. Let's get them on paper. So we wrote all those things down. And then we started brainstorming ideas of how we might be able to conduct one activity or one operation that would allow us to move the needle and advance our objectives on more than one of those lines of effort. So like, for example, if we were to go out on a short and relatively simple patrol in a village near the fire base, we might be able to conduct some reconnaissance operations, exert some presence out there, gain more familiarity with and friendliness with the local people that were near the fire base. It could be training for our local host nation partners to get out and do a mission that's not particularly complex and might help them build some confidence. While we were out there, we might be able to distribute some humanitarian assistance and conduct some civil military operations and improve the quality of life for that village. And it occurred to us that with as few people as we had and as dangerous as the situation was, we could not and should not conduct a single operation that wasn't advancing our cause, that wasn't moving the ball down the field on at least two, if not more, lines of operation. And once I'd seen that, I could not unsee it. It started to be everywhere in my life. And when I got out of the military and I went to work in corporate America as a sales professional, as a business development person, I got my territory, and it was like half the state of Florida, an overwhelming amount of driving and geography to cover. I had about $15 million worth of business that I was responsible for maintaining and growing. And I also had the responsibility of going out and finding between 1 and 2 million additional new dollars to go win accounts, to go take business from our competitors, to grow the business for the company that I was representing. And when I looked at the total list of clients and customers, and I looked at the amount of money that we're gonna have to generate every year, and I looked at the distances that I was gonna have to be driving on a daily and weekly basis, it felt immediately overwhelming, particularly because I knew very little about the product and service I was selling in the first place. So I went back to the lines of effort, and I got organized, and I got focused, and I started thinking about how can every time I back my car out of the driveway, every time I leave my home office, how can I be precise and intentional and act on purpose and make sure that if I'm gonna go do anything, that I'm moving the needle on at least 2 lines of effort as it relates to my business and my professional goals out there in my territory. And I went from feeling like somebody who was gonna be a frantic, hair on fire salesperson out there making 1 million sales calls a day, spinning my wheels, probably getting nothing important accomplished, to someone who was relatively new to the business, but was able to be very successful in a short amount of time because I was focused on the important things. I wasn't wasting energy, and whenever I could, I would do one thing that allowed me to advance at least 2 objectives. And then when we moved on to Team RWB, same thing. Nonprofit world, difficult to raise money, you're managing volunteers, you've got over 100,000 members that you're trying to keep happy. How can you do all that? Well, how do nonprofits raise money? Do they do fundraising events, like a gala, something like that? Well, it didn't make sense to us at the time to do a big effort, one event that was just for raising money. So instead we rethought the process, and maybe we could do a different kind of event. Maybe we could do a really engaging, inspiring athletic event where members could be involved and it could enrich their lives and give them an awesome experience. And maybe as part of that, we can involve some of our sponsors and our funders to participate and be meaningfully engaged in that activity so they could feel it and really understand it. And maybe with that came a big sponsorship check or 2. And maybe those people that were running in the event or participating could do some peer-to-peer fundraising, do a little bit of grassroots, raise some money a little bit that way. And the next thing you know, we had all these awesome opportunities where we could do more than one important thing with one meaningful event. Brandon and I do that now in our business at Applied Leadership Partners. If you follow us at all, you may have noticed that we tend to write a lot of blog posts. We try to do a lot of writing. We think it's really important. And it is for some obvious reasons, like, for one, forcing ourselves to write a blog post that we're proud enough of to share with the world causes us to have to refine and develop our ideas, the things that we talk about at the whiteboard together. We challenge ourselves to really refine those and better develop those ideas so that we can share them with the world. That's important to us. We want to be generous. We want to put some of that stuff out there. Also, those blog posts are a bit of content marketing. That's a way of telling the world that, hey, we're doing something. We have a unique, perhaps valuable perspective on a topic, and maybe it would be useful for you to read about it or to hear about it. And that helps us, to get new customers and new clients. What you may not know though, is that those blog posts often turn into presentations. So a prospective client might read a blog post and contact us and say, that's really cool. I love the way you're thinking about that. Could you share that with my team? Well, sure, with not much effort, we could translate that blog post into a presentation for a team or a keynote talk. And if they really want to dive deeper into it, we could take that and we could develop it a bit further and make it into a training module that's got a primer and a workshop and a takeaway document and a breakout. So you see, we're doing one thing. When I sit down to the keyboard, I'm just writing, I'm just focused. And I can have the permission to do that because I know that by doing so, I might be advancing us on more than one line of effort. This applies outside of work too. You think about your personal life and how there's so many important things that matter to you and that you need to take care of. I think for me, I want to spend a lot of time with my family. I want to spend as much time as I can outdoors in the fresh air. And it's really important for me to get exercise, break a sweat, breathe hard, 4, 5, 6 days a week. So if I were just to go run on the treadmill, I could get a workout, but that would only be helping me on kind of one line of effort there on the fitness front. But if I were to go run on a trail in the woods, then, I'm getting some exercise and I'm getting some nature. And if I were to invite a friend or my wife to come join me on that trail run, then I'm getting that quality time and I'm getting some time in nature and I'm working on my fitness, right? So I'm doing one thing. It's important to point out that is not multitasking. It's quite the opposite. It's being completely immersed and completely present for one thing at a time, but that's achieving multiple purposes. So again, this is just one framework. It's just one way of looking at things, but we hope you'll find it useful. We know you've got a lot on your plate. We know you're focused on the important stuff. So when that rucksack starts to feel really heavy, like you got too many big rocks in there, start thinking about how you can create some categories, create some buckets, figure out what your important lines of effort are in your life or in your business, and then start doing as many things as you can that will allow you to focus on one task, but achieve more than one goal. All right, hope that's helpful. We'll see you guys next time.